This is the entrance. So what you're seeing now is a 3/4 of a mile dirt road that ends at our neighbor's house. So what you do is when you turn left. And I'm gonna admit that this left is a little not obvious. That's kind of what we wanted. I wanted to have a place that was at the end of the road, And I think that we've done that. So I keep having to mow as close as I can to the ditch. Our neighbor has some wild blackberries. This is the entrance. So we, right away. It's been here for a long time, the right of way has. So the first right is a gated opening. So this is our driveway. So you've entered our property now. A couple interesting things. One is we've got this old structure. I really don't know what they used it for. It's kind of, they used it for storage, I guess. And then we've got some very large oak trees. We tried to keep as many of them as we could. You can see this tree's pretty tall. So the driveway is right here. Got a couple of picnic tables. The nice thing about these is they're in the shade. So as we go down the driveway, you'll see we're still trying to clean up and remove some debris and get everything where we want it. It's going to take a little time. The pile of logs, some of the trees that came out when we built the driveway, a lot of them get used in the hugel mound, but not all. So at some point I've got to deal with that pile. Maybe that'll go in the next hugel mound. There's an old structure here to your left that Al got part of the way done. We got to decide what we're going to do with it. And then I've got a shed to the right, some rain barrels, which currently houses my zero turn. So solar charger for the zero turn. And then to the right here, one of the things you can see is this fence. So this fence got the gate open so we can walk in. This fence is called a 3D anti-deer fence. So as you can see, there's a line to the left here, and it sits lower. It's a couple feet high. Line to the right, the bottom one is lower than the front one. The other one's higher than the front one. And so it's 3D, and it's electric. So the concept is that the deer get confused. And the other thing is there are these scent caps. So the scent cap right here has cotton in it. I think all they really did was took a bottle cap and put a hole in it and put a wire through it. And so what happens is you put a scenty stuff in here. So right now we've got an apple scented stuff. And the idea is that cap is metal. And so when the deer comes up to it, walks up to it, sniffs it, the deer gets shocked and runs away and goes, I don't want any of this, instead of trying to jump over it. So the next thing we see here is we're inside of the area we're planting. This is our test planting area. And so let me zoom in. We finally got all our drip irrigation in today. And so right here for the hugel mound, I've got 5 strips of drip tape. So you can see that we're starting to get squash. So these are winter squash. They're coming along nicely. And the well pump goes in tomorrow, so, or Monday, excuse me. So hopefully that'll we'll be ready to start irrigating. But we're starting to get some squash coming up and some plants that are local that I'm not sure what they are. And some of the stuff I planted hasn't come up. So we'll see how that goes. Like I said, this is our test run. And the hugel mound is new. So these logs are all pretty much green logs. So they're not going to add a lot of nitrogen this year. Over time they'll add more, but if we go down through here, got some volunteer corn. Not sure where that came from. We are, you can see here, we're starting to get some of our plants coming up. I planted pumpkin and I planted watermelon. Here so we're not sure how we're going to weed this yet. This native grass is coming on pretty strong, and maybe the squash will take off enough to where we don't have to in these areas. I also planted some sunflower in here. Connie and I are having a debate about what this plant right here is. So what we've done here is we've planted along the contour lines. So these are raspberries, and they've been in the ground 24 hours. All these plants have. Watered them twice by hand. And so what we did was, we planted along the contour lines. So these three plants are on a contour. This plant, this plant, this plant is also on a contour. So we've planted along the contour so that once these start growing and spreading, we'll encourage them to spread on that contour. So our raised bed will follow the contour. So what we're seeing here is 15 blackberry plants here, and 3 more will come to, of different varieties. And then we've got fig, elderberry, another elderberry. And you can see right here, they drip irrigation, so each one has a tree ring. You can see down in there. And so we're running drip irrigation to each one. Another fig. And this is my pile of dirt I'm drawing from to put in the bottom of the hole and to cover before the hay goes on. The hay is from our back field. Another elderberry. Get me out of the shadow, get my shadow out. Another elderberry. And then, maybe you'll recognize this. This is a mulberry. And then fig. Mulberry. 3 more blackberries. All right. So as we continue on our tour here, you can see our circle driveway, and we'll walk around it. So as we're walking down through the circle driveway, so it goes left, and there's a section in the middle for the tractor shelter. On the right, you'll see the hugel mound. The hugel mound isn't quite 100 feet long. It's settled some since we made it, believe it or not. It's probably about 5 feet tall at this point, maybe 70 feet long. Pretty big, nicely big. You can see the extents of our anti-deer fence. So over here, you can see our shelter. Finally got us a shelter in to put the UTV in here. And we'll put the tractor in here. Now just the tractor, but here's the tractor, an old Ford. So it's handy having a tractor, I'll tell you what. So the shelter kind of bisects the circular driveway. So you would drive around, not through the shelter, you would drive around here. So we couldn't find anyone locally to sell us a Porta-John. So I brought one down from the top of the mountain and set it up here. Now I gotta find someone to service it. So the shed is in place, on pillars. And then I've got an area here where you can see it drops off. Reason why is I want to put a deck here. And I'm trying to get it to where it's pretty close to no steps to go into the shed. So my thought is we'll replace this with a sliding glass door and do the same on the back of the shed and put a deck on the back. So I have a little cabin out here eventually. Here's our control panel. So we got a couple of outlets, 200 amp service, a motion sensitive light, and then the fence controllers right here. And we're still getting all the cables dressed. There's 3 ground rods to pull all this off. And then the well casing is right here. And then the well pump is going to go right here. You see where the pink flag is. So let's walk down through the property. So there's some shrubs that Al had put in and some trees that are gotten big quick. Kind of breaks this second part into a totally different part of the property. Got the shed, these trees. So visually it's broken up by this. There's a lot of grass to mow back here, I'm going to tell you what. So we're putting a second yard hydrant in. When the pump goes in, we'll have the guy put a yard hydrant up near the at the end of the hugel mound to feed the irrigation, which hopefully is going to be Monday. Putting in a variable speed pump with a controller. Pretty good sized field. It's quiet out here. So at some point we're going to do some planting in this back field. We just haven't been able to pull that off yet. I would imagine, turn back around here, that the blueberries will go somewhere in here, and some more figs, maybe some more elderberries. We're gonna put pawpaws up at the tree line, up above the hugel mound, but right at the tree line. They like being at the tree line. Let's just see what happens down here. We're gonna cut some trees, get some more sun back in here. So this is the way you get from one pasture to the other. It's dark in the afternoons in here. It's a pretty heavy canopy. There's a lot of mandrake flowers here. I should say mandrake plants. Which, with mandrake, the root's poisonous, leaves are poisonous, the stem's poisonous. Another section. We're thinking about putting the house right here. So there's a path to the right that I used for the tractor, way over to the right, over here. And we'll walk up through here. So here's the other field. Got some plans for this. It's going to take a while for them to unfold. Right now, the hay gets cut off of it. It's about 4 acres. Hard to see it, but I got to trim some limbs. But my tree stand, which really is in the wrong place. I need to improve its location. My tree stand is right up here. Hard to see it. I'm gonna make some changes before fall. So this is the back field. What I'm thinking is that we're going to break this down into maybe 6 paddocks, where the border of each paddock is a mixture of nut and fruit trees. So it would be a paddock over here, over here, over here, and there'd be kind of an organic line of trees, kind of a waving line, and then a road roughly in the middle, but kind of a meandering road like our driveway. It'd be nice one day, if we live out here, to pasture our birds. So what we do is have several paddocks, and we just move them once a week to a different paddock. They'd always have a new salad bar. As you can see, it's pretty quiet out here. I guess as you can hear, as you can imagine. The land over here is also cut for hay by the same guys who's cutting this. We've got a spot up here that often stays wet. Probably hard to see on the camera. Right here, the land starts dipping down. So the thought is that somewhere in here we'd like to put a pond. So kind of in this corner, we've got a little bit of a bowl to start with. So what we do is keep it less than 10 feet deep, so we don't have to have a permit. And then we put a pond here. Now this particular area is often wet. You can see the grass changing a little bit. And surprisingly, right now it's dry. But usually this stays pretty wet right in here. So the tree line is actually the property line. And where the grass is cut is the other property line, not the trees. So it's a little bit of a long, skinny property. I'm gonna work on renting that 40 foot of property from our neighbor on an annual basis, and then we can take care of it. So one of the things our upcoming projects this fall, we're gonna put blueberries in and pecans. And then also over the summer, I want to map out my plan for the property. And then hopefully this fall we'll get some pawpaw trees in. And then we'll have to see what else. Right now we're just experimenting. Very peaceful, quiet. And as said earlier, it's at the end of a road, so people really don't have a reason to come back here. So I kind of like that. And the nice thing is we've got enough space to where we can grow what we want. Just got to figure out what we want to grow and what we can maintain. As you can tell, there's plenty of room to walk and enjoy being outdoors. My goal had been to have about half this field in sunflower this year, but just haven't been able to pull that one off. So hopefully next spring we can make that happen. I would like to grow more of the food for our chickens, be less reliant on outside inputs. So we'll go back down the tractor path. I need to bush hog this section. It's nice being able to bush hog and having a tractor and a bush hog to bush hog with. So there's kind of our neighbor's backyard to the left here. Got a lot of fences we need to get back up to snuff. Occasionally we have wandering cattle from neighbors, and that's been a problem. So here's the tractor path. Connie and I came, there was a couple of trees that we had to clear so we could use it with the tractor. Now we can get to the back field without going around to our neighbor's field with the tractor. I'm gonna stop moving for a second. You can hear how quiet it is. A lot of birds. Not a lot of squirrels out here. We have some neighbors who like to squirrel hunt, and I suspect they've kept the population down. Here's the bridge. Here's the creek. One thing we've got to determine is how full the creek gets, which is going to determine how big of a pipe I have to have. Here's the section where we've got a lot of brush and a lot of canopy back here. The footbridge. And there's a lot of mandrake that grows in here, which I was saying earlier, the plant is poisonous, but the fruit isn't. So, or it's also called mayapple. That's probably the name you've heard. The biblical name is mandrake, and the common name is mayapple. I also would like to put some pecans. My preconception was to have a pecan tree where the tractor shelter went, and then I put the tractor shelter there. So much for having that gigantic pecan tree right there, which is okay. So we may put pecan trees back here. Still working on that. Got to decide what we really want to grow. I like the idea of lower maintenance stuff, especially us being 30 minutes away. We kind of got to concentrate on that. So we'll go back up here. Come up the side. Got a lot of trees that I would like to cut to open up some shade, or get more sunlight in some of these spots. I got to work out the master plan before we cut too much. It's just hard to put back a big tree that took 50 years to grow, so I want to make sure before I cut them down. We've got a variety of flora and fauna out here. Back to the tractor shed. And then when we bought the place, we got a lot of implements. So a scraper blade came with it, which is handy already. And then I bought a roller crimper so that we could do no-till. I believe that we're gonna have to do some more work before it actually is effective for what we want it to do. You can see the blades that turn as you roll, and the idea is it terminates the cover crop. So I think we're gonna have to get to where we have a cover crop, something other than grass. Here's the planter we bought. Our neighbor was nice enough to clean it up and sand it down and repaint it for us. This is 70s, 80s series. I'm gonna move that into the shelter probably. I've got a carrier here that's like I can put stuff on to carry. A lot of these farm implements I'm still learning the name for. I think this is called a rake, but I'm still learning. Got to go and restore some of these and get them back to where they're all painted and clean. And then this one, the disc here, we got a turning plow, which will be nice once we actually grow some veggies out here. And then not sure the name of this, but this will allow us to turn a row up. If I understand that right, we can create a raised bed basically in a row for like anything that needs a raised bed. That single point plow. And we are back to the front. There's a lot of stuff we're still working on. I've been slowly going after these things. We got some brush to burn. Got some spots where I'm tearing up some garden beds and removing some debris. It's gonna take a few trips to the dump, get it where we want it. But this is the project.